Well, a very, very happy Monday, and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is December 15th of 2025, and we are just 10 more days away from Christmas. Can't believe it. Holidays have come and gone, and there's a part of it where it seems to take forever to get to, right? I feel sometimes that getting to Thanksgiving, getting to Christmas drags out forever. And so, like, for example, this week is going to take forever. Next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is going to take forever because business is still as usual for most people. People got to work, people got to go to school, people got to go to daycare. I mean, you still got to go shopping and pay bills. Bills don't stop because of the holidays coming through. So, that aspect it feels like it just drags. There's another aspect that seems like we rush through things, you know. I mean, it's just one of those things where for me personally, I anticipate it. I look forward to this season. Um and sometimes, I could find myself getting upset because it drags out longer than, just to get up to those specific dates. Like to get up to Thanksgiving, you got to go through at least half the week before you can get there. And then the entire week and beyond there, it either takes forever or it goes by super fast. And you come find yourself Sunday back to work, back on a daily routine like nothing ever happened. Same thing goes for Christmas. It ends up being on a Thursday this year. For us in my household, that's what we celebrate. And, anticipation from today all the way up until next Wednesday is going to be one of those things where it takes forever to get to. Um, and then when we get there, it's going to be like, well, we're here and nothing much more comes of it. And then afterwards, you'll find yourself in a position where you have the whole weekend, and that weekend goes by fast. And then you have New Year's, which feels like just like a dead week, but still business continues as normal. So I was kind of thinking, how do I want to do, this podcast heading into the weekend because or heading into the holidays because who's going to really listen to sports talk on a Christmas Eve or a Christmas Day? Well, here's what I have to kind of go off of. I'm going to go off of my child's schedule, to be honest, and uh, one of my child's is going to be off from daycare Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the day after Christmas. So and then coming up now, New Year's, he'll be off earlier. So for me, I intend to do a podcast every day this week, and then Monday and Tuesday next week before going on a 5 day holiday vacation. It may not mean much to you, but if you guys are anticipating an episode every day to drop at 7 o'clock, I don't know if I'm going to have an episode for those days. Now, afterwards, after Christmas, we get to the December 29th and we get ready for New Year's. I intend to do an episode um on that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so New Year's Eve. And then I don't know what I'm planning on doing for that on New Year's Day. And then, so more likely there'll be a 4 day weekend. I may do some extra recording for content purposes to publish at a later date, right? But as of right now, next week, Christmas week, I intend to do a podcast Monday and Tuesday, and then take the rest of the week off. And then on the New Year's week, I'll do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, probably take the rest of the week off. So if you guys are expecting an episode towards the back end of the next 2 weeks, I say just be patient. I may have something, I may not. There's no guarantees. It just depends where I'm at. For those who are listening or who are actually subscribed to the YouTube channel, and I want to just give you a little update here to start this week. And I still got football going out. Um, by the time this episode gets posted at 7 o'clock tonight, I'm working on getting Monday Night Football out. I had a little slower day today, so I do apologize for maybe a later start on that, but I do intend to get football out tonight. We have a busy week ahead of us as we have Thursday Night Football, 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and a game on Monday. And I think it just repeats itself because we have a 3-game triple header, I believe, on Christmas. Man, a lot of football content to be played over the next couple of weeks before we hit to the playoffs. And so I do have football, and it's postseason intended to be done and ready and posted by the start, as its attended schedule. So I'm working around the clock on there. Um, you know, and the one thing that I am kind of upset with myself with is I kind of got away since baseball's postseason. I got behind on wrestling, and I'm kind of upset because I I'm in season 2. I want to tell this story, for people to tune in and pay attention to on a weekly basis, and it's just kind of gotten behind. And so my intent is that I'm going to restart. I know I've never really wanted to do this, but I'm going to restart my calendar come the beginning of the year. So January 5th. As a matter of fact, I expect a first updated episode for the new year, calendar year. Start off on year 1 again. Rosters will be updated. Championships will be vacated, and we have to come up with new championships, and all this stuff. That is intended to start on, I think it's January 3rd or January 4th. So it's going to be a weekend, and then we'll have Raw, NXT, SmackDown main event. So we'll go from there. But that is what I intend to do. So if you guys are watching the WWE 2K Universe Mode series, I do apologize that I haven't been publishing episodes. One of the things that I have been behind on is getting a new intro created. I've only gotten Raw done, so I got to get at least three more done here within that time span. So it gives me some work to do. And I just feel like being able to kind of reset that internal clock and be able to just give you guys, just start fresh and give you guys fresh content. That's what I'm hoping for. So if you guys are following us on that, I do appreciate your patience. Apologize for the inconvenience, but that's where we're at. Boy, I got to tell you, this past weekend with the snow, I hope everyone was safe out there. It's one of those things where you plan for the worst and then you adjust to the rest. And we got some snow. I was able to actually do everything we were supposed to be able to do over the weekend, other than go to Sunday service. We were just, it was 0 degrees outside. There's ice on the roads, regardless if they treat it or not. And we did not want to risk, you drag a little, 2-year-old out. You just didn't want to risk the potential chances of getting into an accident. And so we were just able to tune it in online. And I appreciate that type of service that's provided from our location that we attend. But we were playing the safe card. We stayed in all weekend, and just kind of, enjoyed the snow and enjoyed each other's company. So that was, I could only imagine. Look, we're in northern Kentucky. I could only imagine what other parts of the country has gotten really hit hard. and what they have to go through. I, as a parent, as a person who has a family at home, I kind of have this. I have grown this fear of driving in the snow, not only for uh, the sake of sliding out and getting into an accident, but also um, just for the safety of kids. So it's kind of one of those things where I'm just like, if I can avoid it, I will. I'm not saying I can't drive in it because I most certainly can. I still have confidence. I do proceed with caution, but um, for those who are out there that had to do with it, I commend you. I give you credit where credit's due. And thank goodness. I mean, at least according to the calendar ahead of us, it looks like we are going to be free of snow, just dealing with some cold weather over the heading into the holidays and into the end of the year. So, um, I was told earlier this year that the almanac for Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati locations, we're supposed to have a heavier snow season. If this is what the start of it is going to be, then it only advises us to be prepared. But I remember out here, snowfalls could even take place as late as April, May, June, possibly even July. I know that's crazy to hear, but wherever you guys are listening to this, if you guys deal with weather inclements like snow and whatnot, I hope everyone's safe and everyone's back to normal. This is the other conundrum, is that you kind of go off of daycare and school schedules. So if school's out, daycare's out, you do have to adjust your plans, and that's one of the issues that I sometimes run into trying to get you an episode. It all works great until you have, I don't want to have interference. And I got kids at that age where they do require a lot more. It's not like you could just send them off doing something for an hour or so you could get an episode done. Anyways, that is enough about me. That's enough about just personal life. Today's episode, we are going to review Saturday night main event that took place on Saturday night. It was John Cena's final match. It was a small match card, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions about that. And then we will also recap the AFC North division, particularly. I know we have the Dolphins and the Steelers on Monday Night Football later tonight, but the Cincinnati Bengals are officially eliminated from the postseason. And there's some clarifications that took place, kind of recapping what Joe Burrow said earlier last week that kind of stunned the Cincinnati nation and kind of stunned the sports world, to be honest. And so we'll share what took place in the NFL yesterday. But I want to just jump back into John Cena's final match, Saturday night main event. He takes on Gunther. And I've always been looking at this leading up to this match, that it is, what does Gunther have to gain when it became when it comes down to facing John Cena? Because I feel like Gunther has already created a resume that doesn't necessarily shine and doesn't do much more when you throw in the whole, well, you're facing John Cena. Win, lose, or draw, doesn't matter if you made him tap out, pass out, or count out. The bottom line is that I didn't feel like Gunther benefited from this match. Well, listening to commentary, watching the night, I kind of have sparked some interest, and kind of just dawns on me that Gunther has had a successful season this year. Now, it may not show it because he's been in and out, but he's held the world championship. He's held, he's won. He's wrestled at WrestleMania. He was Goldberg's final match, and he won. And now he's became John Cena's final match. And you kind of just think of this as a trend. Gunther is being responsible. You're putting Gunther in the spotlight when it comes time for someone to retire. And he is going to not only end someone's career, but he's going to do it in the most, devastating way possible. And, I think we need to reflect on what the WWE is doing to Gunther, because it gives him, you're basically going to this man saying, hey, we trust you enough to be this opponent's final match of their career. Now, he's earned it rightfully, I think, based off of what he's already accomplished in the WWE. He earned being Goldberg's final match, considering that he said some words earlier this year that sparked the interest of Goldberg. And when you disrespect Bill Goldberg or his family, obviously he's going to confront you about it. But John Cena comes up and he enters this tournament and he's won this tournament fair and square, and he beat John Cena on Saturday night, and that's now one, but that's now two to the portfolio and the resume that Gunther has. And you can only imagine if he's going to end anyone else's career. It reminds me a lot about a certain somebody that's still active in the WWE, that when he came back from UFC, we'll talk about Brock Lesnar, he went on to this little whole domination. He went through guys like John Cena, Triple H, Randy Orton, you name it. He went through them. He didn't go over them. He didn't go around them. He went through them, and he became this beast incarnate by exploiting his dominance. And it was, in this situation, it reminds me a lot like what they've done to Brock Lesnar in years past. So I was just kind of pondering this over the weekend. Goldberg, or you got Goldberg on the list, you have John Cena on the list. Who else can Gunther beat? And it comes to my attention that you have a couple of guys out there that possibly is on the final stretch of their career, and they're probably setting up retirement dates. I know AJ Styles has come out and said 2026 is his final year. Win, lose, draw, injured or not, he will be hanging it up. Whether that's true or not, I will wait to see it. But Gunther should be a candidate to be AJ Styles' final match. I know there are rumors and speculations that next year's SummerSlam is going to be held in, I don't know exactly where. I think Minnesota. And this might be the site where Brock Lesnar could finally hang up his boots and retire. And if that's the case, who other than Gunther would be a better opponent for Brock Lesnar to send off into retirement and to pick up a victory over Brock Lesnar? So maybe this is a trend that we will see from Gunther when it comes time for our pastime alumni and, athletes to send people off into retirement. And that's, start adding guys like Cena, Brock, AJ, Ray, you name it, and it becomes an eye catcher. It creates a Hall of Fame for himself. He becomes this legend killer, so to speak, right? And so, I think that we should pay attention to what's next for Gunther, because I feel like at the time he could be given a push, but at the time, we could expect to see a lot more greatness coming from this man. As we mentioned, John Cena did lose on Saturday night. He ended up tapping out. And a lot of fans didn't quite like that idea of John Cena tapping out to lose his final match. Now, I think it's fair to say that wrestlers, their careers end when by kind of giving back to the company, setting that tone for the next that next generation of talent. And that's what we saw in the matches displayed on Saturday night's main event. There was we kind of got a chance to see a little bit of everything. We saw low, old fashioned style grappling wrestling. We saw submission holds. We saw outside interactions as John Cena gave Gunther an attitude adjustment on the top steel steps onto the announce table, and we got a chance. I feel like that match kind of went over everything that we could have possibly saw. The highlight, I think, was focused by the announce team was this never give up concept. John Cena never gave up, and he kept battling after chops, after chops, after chops. John Cena kept getting up after power bombs, after power bombs. He kept getting up. It took Gunther nearly almost 4 to 5 minutes on a sleeper hold to finally get to John Cena. The only thing that I may have wished something would have changed was instead of John Cena tapping out, he would have passed out. And I feel like if they went down that, either way, this has to showcase that Gunther won the match clearly and beat John Cena. Now, if you have John Cena pass out, he was unable to finish the match. Therefore, Gunther by default wins the match. But Gunther never beats John Cena. And I think when you categorize it, it's beating John Cena from pinfall or submission. That by pass out or, And so John Cena ran through the through the mud, and he gave us everything he had. And he ended up tapping out. And I think there's an iconic moment from Saturday night's main event where you see John Cena smile, just knowing that's the way that he's going out, that he left it out all on the line, and he's happy with what the product gave him. And it sucks because, look, Paul Levesque was given so much heat in the post show that, I'm kind of thinking to myself, why are we going after someone? This is also John Cena's last match. If John Cena wanted to win, he could have won. If John Cena wanted to make Gunther tapped out, he could have made him tap out. This was John Cena's moment. And whether you like it or not, the bottom line is that story of Saturday night was telling, hey, this person's career went through everything that we saw during the match. He didn't give up. And no, he didn't walk out victorious, but he was able to survive. And so I understand. I was a bit upset. It's kind of, for me, it was, I was silenced when you finally seen the end of it. But it didn't happen so fast. It didn't happen quickly. They took their time with it, and that's what I enjoyed it the most, reflecting back on it. Yes, I was surprised. I was shocked. I knew maybe, I kind of maybe figured that John Cena was going to lose the match. But how he was going to lose the match. Was he going to get pinned? Was he going to tap out? Were they going to be counted out? To see it actually happen under a submission was something that it's still so unsurreal for me. And coming into SmackDown tonight, it's still so unsurreal for me that we got a chance to watch John Cena do what he does best for the past 365 days. And it has all come to an end. So whether you missed a moment or you're not going to see John Cena back in the ring. My son ain't going to see John Cena compete unless you watched archive matches. And we have turned a chapter in professional wrestling that doesn't include John Cena. There was memorable moments after the match where everyone comes down to the ringside. Cody Rhodes, CM Punk puts their titles over John Cena because he's the true, real last champion. John Cena takes this, standing ovation from everyone in the arena, the 19,000 who had showed up in attendance. He's definitely gotten my standing ovation, from the seat of my living room couch. And he takes off his shoes, takes off his gear, and leaves. And we all knew this was coming. Yet we were still so touched and disappointed and so emotional about Saturday night that I feel maybe has also the reason for our temper on, the outcome of the night. But, we move forward. And Saturday night wasn't just about John Cena. It was about the matches. Now, I loved it. We had this, and he didn't give a speech. He didn't go speak for 30 minutes. Maybe it wasn't the time or place. And I feel for that. When you compare this to the Goldberg retirement match, the one thing that I think people fail to remember and realize is that Goldberg's already in the Hall of Fame. He's already had his moment. He's already had his speech. And we see John Cena, who just got done with professional wrestling, right? I just want to verify this. Bill Goldberg was inducted into the class of 2018 WWE Hall of Fame, the one in New Orleans. I just want to make sure I share that with people because, I don't know if I understand what took place with Bill earlier this year. And you could say it was injustice to cut him off for the WWE universe, maybe to keep things short. But reality is that it's already been there, been done. If John Cena wanted to give this speech, he would have gotten a speech. But I feel like it's not the right time and place, which means, you're almost certain that John Cena gets inducted into the class of 2026 along with Stephanie McMahon. That's a huge name, still so fresh off of wrestling, but still so valid. And that's going to be another conversation I have in store coming up here at the beginning of the calendar year, because it doesn't seem to me that the WWE has a criteria or a panel or a standard when it comes down to being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I've seen wrestlers who are still currently wrestling, Rey Mysterio, right? And they've already been inducted to the Hall of Fame. And, when you compare the, professional wrestling's Hall of Fame and what their standards and their rules are, the expectations, what qualifies someone, what doesn't, it's a little bit more vague than what maybe, an NFL or a professional baseball player where you have to wait so many years. You have to be voted in by your alumni. You have to have so many votes. And maybe I would hope that at some point over the next few years, and I doubt this is going to happen, but I would love the WWE to consider some sort of statue that is put in place of who could get qualified. WWE, and I know I'm getting carried off a topic here, but WWE has gotten comfortable with just having almost about a dozen people be inducted to the Hall of Fame each and every year, that they've even inducted non-wrestlers that has nothing, that made maybe one appearance at all and made no sense to be inducted to WWE's Hall of Fame, and yet they still share the spotlight with great immortals like John Cena, Hulk Hogan, so on and so forth. So, like I said, that's a conversation. Saturday night main event, we saw a draw between Cody Rhodes and Oba Femi, NXT champion versus WWE champion. Drew McIntyre comes in, attacks. He's been avoiding Cody unless the terms have been under his conditions, and he has been on top of it. Last Saturday, Drew McIntyre attacks Cody Rhodes, forcing the ref to call off the match. Oba confronts Drew, and Cody and Oba teamed up and took out Drew McIntyre. And I can't wait for Oba Femi to come up to the big leagues. You talk about the look factor, and Oba has that next look factor as a professional wrestler, as a top dog. And so I just can't wait for the future for Oba Femi. Solo Ruka, who her story coming into Saturday night main event was that she was skeptic. She didn't want to fall flat. She ends up pulling up a victory over Bayley, which is a huge win for her in her career. And what a great performance. I mean, look, I think the tag team match, Dragon Lee, AJ Styles taking on Javon Evans and Leon Slater, the TNA X Division champion. This was probably the best match of the night, and probably one of the best matches of AJ Styles' tag team run here yet so far. And a lot of high flying moves. Now we did see AJ Styles botch a little bit, couldn't get his standings on the top rope when he wanted to deliver the flying elbow. But what a lights out match. Applaud all four men in that ring. Loved the little spot where The Miz, R-Truth, and Joe Hendry shared a moment in the ring. A little kind of side match there. Kind of just going back to the tribute to John Cena and throwing in those pieces. They had a lot of great video packages displayed, especially the one that Triple H aired at the end of the night. You had guys like Rob Van Dam, Mark Henry, all out there at ringside, just honoring, John Cena. So, like I said, the future now lies within, it does not lie within John Cena anymore, and I'm okay with it. And I hope that you guys are also okay with it, because that is, all this, we have to come to the terms and conclusion that the industry is better off, and he has left this place in a much better place than what it was, not just for the WWE, but for the entire wrestling world. Look at AEW growing. Look at the acknowledgement that TNA and Ring of Honor has gotten, and AAA and Japan Wrestling. We have evolved since 2002 so much for the better of this industry. And one of the pioneers that contributed a lot to that was a guy like John Cena, who people looked up to be. So hopefully his retirement is, what his next step moving forward is. Who is he as a person, as a human being? He's no longer John Cena, the WWE wrestler. He's John Cena, the human. He's an actor. He's a rapper. He was a professional wrestler. but he's now so much more. And we get to see that without having this tie to the WWE that, in a sense, holds him back. So wait to see what the future holds for John Cena and his career. Before we get into NFL talk, want to talk a little bit about Enlighten Studios' upcoming project to kick off the 2026 calendar year. It's with a new theater production called Grassroots. Come check out their performance at the Artsville Theater in Cincinnati, Ohio, on February 20th through March 1st. Tickets are still available by visiting tickettailor.com. So they have done so many great productions in the past. They are a nonprofit organization that continues to grow and expand from not only their theater production, but music, arts, collaborations, and all that stuff. So can't wait to see what 2026 has in store for Enlighten Studios. But kicking things off is their upcoming theater production called Grassroots. Can't miss it. The last two has really been a knocked out of the park. We expect this one to do the same. This is why there's a 2-weekend performance deal, not just one. So get your tickets today. A link in the description will be provided for your availability. All right. I also want to encourage you guys, okay, if you guys are interested and you guys want to be heard on this podcast, you guys have a thought, you guys have a share, you want to share a John Cena story, or interested in being a guest, I don't mind having a guest on this show. Be sure to reach out. I encourage you guys. Let's reach out to me. We'll talk a little bit. I'll get a sense of who you are and what you have to offer. And we'll schedule a day. We'll schedule a time. We'll press record and we'll talk sports. And I'll give you my thoughts, and I want to hear what your thoughts are. Bring the arguments. I'm down for an argument here. But if you guys are looking to do that, please contact me through the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. It's my most direct contact. I know I have other social medias, but I'm not always on there. I know I kind of lack that type of sense of media content and digital marketing. But like I said, head over to our YouTube channel and be sure to just reach out, and I'll get back to you, and we'll work something out. So, man, disappointing weekend. And, I got mixed emotions. I'm not, I was disappointed. It was frustrating, but I've kind of have been able to rest at ease a little bit. There's a burden that has been lifted off my back since the Bengals lost on Sunday, 24-0. And I'm not even mad. As a matter of fact, I am upset, but I'm not upset because Joe Burrow didn't, throw a touchdown, or I'm not upset because the Bengals have been eliminated from the playoffs. I'm more upset because of the Cincinnati Bengals organization, the front office, the behind the scenes of all of this, in which the number one story that came out wasn't the fact that the Bengals lost on Sunday. It was the fact that the Bengals did nothing to clear the seats from Paycor Stadium. And so fans were forced to get themselves wet, get themselves dirty, clean, sit in puddles of water because no one came to clean off the seats before the Bengals game. And, I am disgusted. I am just ashamed to be a Bengals fan, not for the players, but for ownership. I've been to Paycor Stadium. I love Paycor Stadium. I think it's a beautiful place to attend to. I think any football place and baseball stadium is a beautiful place to attend to. But besides that point, you got to take care of your fans. They are showing out. They are decked out. It is negative degrees outside, maybe in single digits. And when they come to the stadium, they go down to their seats and they have to walk through piles of snow. First of all, it's not like it snowed. It was not snowing earlier that morning. They had all morning. It snowed Saturday, mainly Saturday, into the night, maybe overnight a little bit. But early in the morning, it was all cleared out. We were done with the snow. We were ready to move on. You're telling me maybe you couldn't have gotten to all the seats. I get that. But you're telling me that you couldn't make an effort to go up and down, especially in the shaded area where the snow was not going to be melted off by the time fans entered the stadium. Or you couldn't have ushers providing tools and equipment to allow the fans to at least help these ushers clean off seats. The responses I've heard on social media was that they were just, no one cared. Nothing was done. And there was a lack of effort given by the Cincinnati Bengals front office and in this category. And I'm disappointed because, yeah, it's cold, but you have a very high-packed, intense game that you need fans to be hyped up and ready to go from kickoff to the end of the game. And I'm going to be honest with you, it takes a part out of you when you have to focus. It's all about creating that experience. And if I was going down to Paycor Stadium yesterday and I'd experienced this issue where I had to wipe off my seat, there is an understanding to an extent. Okay. But NFL has a rule, has a regulation that holds stadiums to a standard of maintaining their stadiums for fans and then enjoy an experience. You're not paying $200-$300 per ticket to sit in the cold and then have to sit on snow, which then turns into ice or turns into water. And I wouldn't. I would go back and go to my car and say, F it. I'm not going to support this team. And what sucks is it's not like I'm not going to go support Joe Burrow, but I'm not going to support the organization, the front office, and, giving them my money at concession stands, buying their merch because they couldn't help take care of us. I was just very disappointed into reading those comments, and it kind of boiled under my skin, and I didn't care about the outcome. Look, the Bengals' back was up against the wall. We knew this from the beginning. You figure that, with the way the Bengals are playing, it could have been a very aggressive game. Bengals defense only held them to 24 points. There was a lot of injuries that took place. A lot of things went wrong early on, and you thought maybe, the Bengals could have caught up and could have got a rally going, but unfortunately, they were shut out. And you kind of give me a relief. I kind of any anxiety that I had going into yesterday's game, that all gets lifted. It's for the best. After hearing what Joe Burrow said last week during press conference, and he kind of cleared things up last week, earlier yesterday after the game, and he proclaims that it has nothing to do with his teammates. It has nothing to do with not wanting to be in Cincinnati. But let's be honest, right? He's going through a mental state, and I would too. He's exhausted. He's probably banged up. He's probably not 100% with his turf toe, right? Fair to say. He wants to play, but he's being held out. And when he is in there, he's being asked to be this miracle man that doesn't have any room for imperfection. And it's upsetting because today's league judges a quarterback about the points they could put up on the board, the amount of touchdowns they could score, being out there on the field. I mean, the ability to run. And over the last 6 years, he's only been to the postseason twice. He's only been to the Super Bowl once. And you saw so much potential in those early years. And the Bengals have missed the postseason the last 3 years. And you're asking yourself, why am I doing this? if the end result's going to be us losing. And the way that I really see this is that I don't care. Tom Brady made mistakes. Peyton Manning made mistakes. They weren't imperfect, but Aaron Rodgers made mistakes, right? Ben Roethlisberger makes mistakes. Jordan Love makes mistakes. Brett Favre made mistakes. But what separates them, but they were also a team that was not just a quarterback only team. You had players, you had an offensive line that was able to protect. You had a solid defense that was able to rally and stop a run or a pass and able to tackle. And there's just so many parts to completing this team. And you're kind of just asking yourself, what are we doing? How are we going to get out of this situation? And if our intention is not to get out of this situation, then, I got to ask myself, what do I need and what do I want to continue playing this game that's going to better myself? Because at the end of the day, if the Bengals are only thinking about themselves, they're not thinking about making money. If they're only thinking about what puts money in their pockets, they're not thinking about winning. Then, Joe Burrow has to do what Joe Burrow does. I'm glad that he says, he kind of cleared some things yesterday, but it doesn't matter. The fact is that he said it. Whether he means one thing or not, I think time will tell. But I think ownership needs to look at this message and saying, look, your franchise quarterback, the guy you expect to be on this team for the next 5-10 years, if possible, he is not happy. He is not satisfied with the team that you have put together for him. Okay. You need to, I don't know if you need to hire new staff, if you need to hire new scouts. I don't know what you need to do, but it is not about him. You're supposed to create a team around him and let him use those talents and those resources to then succeed. If you're only going to Joe and saying, Joe, what do we need? He could tell you what he thinks he needs, but it shouldn't be up to him because it's clear as day. I think there's a million talk shows about Cincinnati sports and everyone's yelling at you about what needs to happen. I mean, listen to the radio once in a while. Because we could tell you, read an article from CBS Sports, we could tell you where the Bengals need help at. And it's not like they just flatlined every single chance they get. They just simply, they stop. I mean, heading into the trade deadline, we got Joe Flacco. I thought, okay, out of all the quarterbacks out there available, and we got him for nothing. And I thought that was a good deal. But we couldn't stop with just Joe Flacco. So we got rid of Logan Wilson, but who did we replace him with? My point is that, we make these little, and listen, the baseball team is just the same way. We make these little moves to make fans believe that we're invested, we're sold in, and we believe in what we're trying to do here, but we have nothing to follow that up with. The Reds just put $125 million on the table to one player, yet they have yet to offer anything else to anyone else. And so, what do we have to offer or to give? So it's reality is going to come to it. Like I said, Joe Burrow said what he wants to say, but I hope that the ownership can read this, can analyze it, and can be like, all right, you know what? Let's get into let's get into a meeting. Let's figure out what we can do to make sure that Joe Burrow is having fun playing this game again. Because one, we can't keep allowing him to get hurt. I feel like he's one injury away of calling it quits or a season-ending injury or career-ending injury. And two, I could have told you, let me tell you this. The season ended not when Joe Burrow got hurt. It didn't end back in week 2. It ended before the season even started. It ended when we had complications signing Trey Hendrickson. The fact that we took all preseason long and Trey Hendrickson sat out was one indication on why we failed this season. All these other teams do not have as many issues that we have year in and year out when it comes out at the beginning of the year. When we come into the first 2 to 4 weeks of the season, we don't know half of our team and what they're capable of. They're not synchronized. There's no chemistry. And we struggle. We get off to a slow start. So our season didn't end a couple weeks ago when we lost to the Ravens. It didn't end yesterday. It didn't end back in week 2 when Joe Burrow got hurt with his turf toe. It ended way before the season started, all because of this direction of this team. I said it. I know it's something that we don't want to hear, but I have to say what I have to say. Well, the Browns also lost 31-3 against the Chicago Bears, who's trying to stay alive and possibly win a championship title. The Dolphins and the Steelers take on each other tonight on Monday Night Football, 8:15 kickoff time. Couple other things coming out of the NFL in Week 15 on Sunday. The Bills kept themselves alive, coming back from being down 21-0 to winning against the Patriots on the road in the snow, 35-31. They keep their AFC East Division championship hopes alive as they crawl back to one game within. Wow. Those Bills. Those Bills play really good in the snow. Snow is just their favorite time. If they could play every game in the snow, they'd have an undefeated season. And in very upsetting fashion, because it just kind of all scrambled, unwinded, when Patrick Mahomes went down with 2 minutes to go. He ends up I think he tore his ACL in his knee. He goes out. Minshew comes in, throws an interception, and the Chargers beat the Chiefs 16-13, eliminating the Kansas City Chiefs for the first time since in the past 10 years, since 2014. Now we can say the words I think we've been waiting to say the entire year, that I know all the other sports talks have said it. The Chiefs are now a team to be questioned. They are a team to question, and they're a team that gets questioned about their quote-unquote dynasty status. We knew this was going to come to an end. I think we're just a little bit shocked in the way it did. I hope Patrick Mahomes is okay. I don't think he'd play the rest of the season since he's been eliminated. I think this just starts a new direction for the Chiefs. Not necessarily, departing from Patrick Mahomes, but you question the status of Travis Kelce's career. A lot of these players may move on. If so, that's fine. It's going to be, how can Kansas City bounce back next year? Who knows? Maybe Kansas City bounces back next year, wins a championship. But now, that whole philosophy of saying, well, don't count them out until they're officially eliminated. Well, they've been officially eliminated, so we're counting them out. And so we're seeing this change in the NFL, in the postseason picture, where you have the Bills in it. You're still undecisive whether you're going to get the Steelers or the Ravens. The Patriots haven't been in it for a while. The Jaguars, it's been kind of off since we've last seen them. The Chargers actually look like a serious team heading into the postseason, not just this team just surprisingly makes it like they normally do. And so it's not your typical image that we are used to seeing, which we were all maybe shocked about. So those are a couple of things going around in the NFL after week 15, yet that still concludes later on tonight. And we have Monday Night Raw tonight, which I know Gunther's going to be there. CM Punk will address the WWE Universe since his return from being, from the Survivor Series War Games. You have the Ivy Nile versus Maxine Dupree as well. So Raw is expected to be a good show tonight as well as we head into the holiday season. But like I said at the beginning of our program, we expected to still have an episode every day this week, 2 days next week, and then possibly 2-3 days the following week heading into the new calendar year. We got a lot of things going on. I can't wait to get them unfolded and going for you guys. But hey, that is all the time we have for you guys today on today's episode. I want to thank you for everyone who's tuning in. I appreciate everyone's support. Wherever your guys are listening to us on one of our audio platforms or watching us on our social media accounts, be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And don't forget to have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, thank you, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.